I want to begin by telling a story. And it is a story from the beginning of time where the earth goddess, Gaia, she was spinning in empty space, in an empty universe. She was there throbbing in her beauty and her potential. And Father Sky, Uranus, who is the god of formlessness, transcendence, spirit, he was irresistibly attracted to her. So much that he laid himself upon her, all around her, penetrating her completely, making love to her. They're merging so total that heaven and earth were one, just one pulsating passion. And out of this divine passion, all the offspring, they gave birth to all the creatures in the universe. The animals, the plants, the waters, the winds, the humans, all the way from the rock in the deepest cave to the highest galaxies, everything was included in their magnificent totality. Now, not all their children was pretty children. Some of their children was, they were monsters, frankly. They were not pretty. They were not behaving. They were trolls. They were ugly. And each time one of these children was born, Uranus, he did not like it. He got ashamed. And he was figuring out, what can I do with these children? Because they don't really fit into the image of this beauty of who I am. So he started to analyze them, judge them, and finally he found out how to get rid of them. He thought. He hid them down into the basement, down into the underworld, out of sight. And then he went like la 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 la, pretending that they were not there. But of course, we know that nobody wants to be hidden in the basements. Of course, they were kind of the monsters down there. We're not happy creating havoc now without a parental supervision. And this went on and on and on until Mother Earth discovered what he was doing. It was just incomprehensible for her of how he could do this. How can you think that you can split off totality? How can you think that some of my children can be kind of kicked out? Kicked out of to where? There is no outside of this totality. Pretty children, ugly children, it doesn't matter to me. It's all my children. And she knew that she had to stop him. And she went to her son, Kronos, and she said, "You got to help me stop your father. He's creating great damage here." Kronos, which means time, said, "I got this, Mom. Just chill. I come." And he took his dagger and, sorry about this part, but he cut off the genitals of Uranus. In great pain, Uranus split off. Way above. Away from the pain, away from the fury of the mother, away from the monsters, way above, where he has been ever since, where he can be safe. And this split was the seat of what we call the modern civilization. This was the beginning of what we can call the dream of the modern world. Because we, humanity, we split off with him. Our sense of identity is now placed in the split off Uranus. Here, from here, everything else that we experience and view are experienced as objects, as other. The consequence of being identified with split off Uranus is that everything else is objects. So from far above, and how this is experienced in the human experience is, of course, also this incredible split off from our bodies and an emphasis on the cranial brain. So from that far, safe place far above, we look at Earth as an object we can exploit, an object that we can manipulate, control, our feelings. Oh, we try to analyze them or witness them. Even our own bodies are viewed as objects. The consequence of rooting our identity in the split of Uranus is what the Buddhists call the root disease. The illusion, the felt experience of being separate from our surrounding. What Einstein called the optical illusion of the human mind, that we perceive ourselves as separate from our surrounding. Now, I don't think it is a secret who of these got the parental rights, or at least the custody of our spirituality. Yeah? Our spirituality went with Uranus. And we're living in the consequences of a spirituality that has been focused for thousands of years, creating elaborate systems, concept of trying to control the mother and push away the mess of surface experience, of matter. We have almost a fetish around spaciousness, expansiveness. That is the goal, this perfect state of most of our spiritual paths. And it is causing great suffering because nothing in this universe is static. Nothing in this universe is ever expansive. And to keep comparing ourselves with these ideas creates unnecessary suffering. In my life, in my personal life, I experienced the split of Uranus in my life. I experienced actually mastery in avoiding the pain of, just that pain of being human. But the consequence of all the strategies I used was that I experienced the suffering of the Western world, which is that core disease of feeling separate from our surroundings. Now, very early on, I found the spiritual paths. The spiritual paths were also it was also the split of Uranus. So paradoxically, I was trying to heal a split with another split, with paths that promised me that if I only meditated enough, if I only was good, then witnessing everything, then one day I would reach this perfect state where I didn't have to deal with the mess and the pain that I felt inside. None of this, would just be completely harmonious, extremely attractive to me. So I was very ambitious. And it was a promise of a way out of here, basically. And I did, in these practices, in the witnesses practicing, experience a freedom. I did realize a dimension of myself that was spacious, that was permeating all the density of feelings and body and thoughts. And a dimension of myself that was peaceful, that was untouched by the pain. And it was radical. It was a radical shift in my life. But what I also experienced was that it was easy for me to feel and to access that dimension on my cushion, meditation cushion, or with my teacher, or if I was very still. But once I opened my eyes and started to speak, or my partner started to speak, it was as if I lost it. It was old habits took over. So I was in this predicament. It was like, got it, lost it, got it. Like, if only the boyfriend could shut up, I would be very enlightened. It was like, So it was a sense, again, of a split inside. So no matter how perfect the realization was in the meditation, it was based on the very same core split. And I realized also that for me, I was comparing my realization and my experience with the maps that were available to me. And all the maps that were available to me were created by men for men. And oftentimes for men who lived very removed from life, were celibate. They didn't have to drive a child to school throwing up in the car or having a tantrum in the supermarket. And I kept comparing myself to that, and I started to see that was just, I was signing up for failure. Only 100% of the time, I would always fail comparing myself to these role models of spiritual maturity. And this was when I met the goddess path. I would be a little kind of, yeah. So for me, you may have you notice that when the women's come up and we speak about the goddess path, there is a part of this field that glaze over and they go a little bit like, the women goddessy, woman circle, that great, but the real serious spirituality is going up, is the Uranus. And I would argue that it is something we should all pay attention to, is what is emerging in the women's field today. Because it is unprecedented what is happening. And it's happening right at this time and age in our evolution. Millions of women are feeling a call, flocking to the women's circle. What is that? Is that only a little bit like to be a little goddessy in touch with the feminine? I will argue that there is something emerging through women today that we all should pay attention to. And I say millions, which I think is actually, I say that with confidence, because I have had the privilege of traveling around, meeting with thousands of women. In fact, Awakening Women community, we have hundreds of thousands of women. And many of you are teachers in the feminine field here. Women from all over the world are feeling a calling from within, oftentimes not having the words or knowing what it is. But they are willing to stay in the discomfort of kind of birthing something new, something that wants to be birthed on earth today. And I think that we can, some are flocking to the woman's circle, we call it goddess practice, but what we are experiencing is something relevant to all genders. Because I think it is very similar to what is emerging here that has called each one of us here this kind of longing to integrate, to bridge our fragmented knowledge, to find a way to see how it all weaves together. And in my practice, the meeting of the goddesses was like to be in a hall of mirror where I saw expressions of awake consciousness that was not all about being very still and very calm and very witnessing and like that, which I just failed doing that. And meeting the goddesses, I saw aspects of myself that I had been told that I had to transcend and get beyond in order to be awake. or in order to be free. And here we have the goddesses mirroring to me, oh no, this is your feelings, for example, is pure creative energy. It is your resistance and your concepts, your fear of the mother that creates entanglements in feelings. You're missing a big opportunity, was the message that I got by just witnessing feelings or witnessing the surface experience. It is mother, it's Gaia, and you can enter through surface experience, through feelings, through thoughts, through body, and find that inside Gaia is Uranus. It's that wholeness. It's that discovery that the split off of Uranus only happened in the human mind. It's a petty concept that has influenced our spirituality and our society with horrendous consequences. So here, the celestial gallery of goddesses, you have Kali, pissed off, angry, that fire, the rage, the one who is willing to be ugly and inconvenient in her protection of truth. She doesn't bother of being spiritually correct. She does anything to wake us up. Then we have Lakshmi, just like Srilicious, beautiful, beaming beauty. Inanna, we have the goddess who is like jealous and lustful, who voluntarily goes down into the dark because she knows that, give me, I want to see if there's any red dotted line by my cosmic, red dotted line between my cosmic experience and the darkest, densest expression of it. Where is the split? And we follow the goddess into this exploration. And I haven't found that split yet. But I am committed for life to keep looking so that I can say this not as a concept, but as a report from the field of this exploration. Just as so many have been speaking about here, that matter is not so solid as we perceive it to be. When we dig deep enough into matter, we find energy, we find space. This is what the yogis have been speaking about for thousands of years. Now, how this can be brought into practice, it's something that we are exploring in the women's circles. And I don't think this is something only for women. But that is that you can, just as you can sit on your meditation cushion and find that spaciousness, formlessness of spirit, of your own awareness of consciousness. You can enter through the other side of the spectrum. You can enter through mother. You can enter through what we call Shakti, because you can enter through matter. And how the result of that, when we enter through matter, we enter through the raw energy, for example, of a feeling, is that we can ride this feeling back into source, and we discover Uranus inside Gaia. We discover the spaciousness inside the density of form. And the beauty of that experience is that we haven't had to split off or fragment any part of ourselves in the process in order to land in this freedom. It is a freedom that is not conditioned on any state, on any experience. It is a risking, in my experience. I had to, at one point in my life, risk to let go of the witness of awareness, to risk to let go of the shore, to risk that all of this, what I had learned and explored in my practice, is not something we make up, that I could have a direct experience of totality. And it is, I think Leonard Cohen says it most beautifully. And he says, you lose your grip, and then you slip into the masterpiece. Thank you so much.